This is part 2 of scenes, sequels, and motivation reaction units. This is chapter 1, the first words of Tricks and Techniques of the Selling Writer, 1965 hardback. Also have the 1981 paperback here, but they say the same thing. You only need to know 4 things in order to write a solid story: how to group words into motivation reaction units, how to group motivation reaction units into scenes and sequels. Almost every book I've consulted teaches scenes and sequels. Some don't mention motivation reaction units or any variation of the term. And they do, if they do after they talk about writing scenes and sequels. Swain begins with teaching, well, it doesn't begin, but this is the first thing, very, very early in the book, he does talk about how to write motivation reaction units. Now, I understand the differences about teaching. I was a teacher. This is from the second issue of the Newman Review, a scholarly journal, published in 2000. It's talking about me. Robert Beatty Jr., J.D., attorney in private practice, holds Associate of Arts degree in Natural Sciences and Mathematics from Wichita State University, Bachelor of Science degree in Human Resources Management from Friends University, and a Juris Doctorate from Washburn University, Topeka, Kansas. He served as an adjunct professor in humanities at Newman University in 1999. So then there's the other authors. Dr. Vittillo was a priest, and Sister Gonzalez, all of them good people. And we all taught, and we all had various ideas about teaching. So here is from a book by Roy Peter Clark, another teacher, but he'd been a practicing journalist. He talks a bit about the difference between journalism reports and fiction stories. And he's saying stories create experience. A report sounds like this. The school board will meet Thursday to discuss the new desegregation plan. A story sounds like this. Wanda Mitchell shook her fist at the school board chairman, tears streaming down her face. This is why you hear show, don't tell in advice about writing fiction. You want to show Wanda Mitchell, not just report about the school board meeting. So, page 56, showed this in the previous part 1. In terms of constructing a motivation reaction unit, that order is this: motivating stimulus, character reaction. Key part is motivating stimulus and character reaction. He says you should have feeling, action, speech. Maybe so. Reasonable minds differ. Let's look at Lonesome Dove. Won the Pulitzer Prize, or received the Pulitzer Prize as best novel, and it was a New York Times bestseller. So, key part, the motivation, is this sentence: I feel young Dish should have his shot before you ruin her completely. The reaction: this is a point of view character, Jake Spoon. Jake snorted. The young cowboy was the least of his worries. So the four characters here are point of view character Jake, character speaking in quotes, Augustus, referring to her, that girl, name's Lorena, and young cowboy Dish. Dish and Jake are both interested in Lorena. Lorena is only interested in Jake. Dish is still trying to persuade her that she should marry him. Every reader, everyone should understand she's not interested in Dish, but Dish doesn't understand that. He's fallen in love with her. So Augustus is captain of this troop, and he has assigned Dish to go basically work next to Lorena, so he's going to spend time with Lorena. And Jake is going to have to go out and be away for a day. And so again, Augustus, I feel young Dish should have his shot before you ruin her, Lorena, completely. Motivation. Jake snorted. Reaction. This is his internal thought. The young cowboy was the least of his worries. So, does that fit with what Dwight Swain taught? Motivating stimulus, character reaction. Yeah, close enough. Now, what do others teach? Well, Peter Economy and Randy Ingermanson in writing fiction say to write with public and private clips. This type of clip or writing passage focuses on a non-POV character, has access only to the publicly viewable part of the character. The reader sees the character's action, dialogue, description publicly from the outside. Well, that was Augustus' quote speaking. The private clip focuses on the POV character and has access to that character's private thoughts and feelings. In a private clip, your reader sees the world through the POV character's eyes. So, again, public, I feel young Dish should have his shot before you ruin Lorena completely. Reaction, private, well, public, Jake snorted. Action, but privately, his internal thoughts, the young cowboy was the least of his worries. Deborah Chester's book. She calls them action-reaction units, simple and the complicated. Both can be found in any given scene. Simple AR, simplest context. For every action, there is a reaction. You run your fingertip along the back of a fuzzy caterpillar, the reaction, the caterpillar curls up. And Jack Bickham. Elements of fiction writing, scene and structure. Stimulus must be external, that is, action or dialogue, something that could be witnessed if the transaction were on a stage. Response must be external in the same way. For every stimulus, you must show a response. For every desired response, you must show a stimulus. Response usually must follow stimulus at once. So, again, Augustus speaks, Jake snorts as an external response, and an internal response, which is told in prose. That's the basics, action-reaction units. Motivation reaction unit, whether you call it an action reaction or stimulus response or public and private clip, it's fairly short, straightforward. That seems pretty simple, and you go through a whole book like that. Only it's more complicated when you actually write the book. And I'll go over that later.